The year is 1954, and the sky is no longer the limit. It is a graveyard. Aviation technology has vaulted forward, dragging humanity into the jet age with engines that scream faster than the speed of sound. But there is a terrifying problem. While engineers can build planes that punch through the sonic barrier, the pilots inside them are still made of meat and bone. A grim consensus has settled over the medical community, written in stone and signed by the most respected physiologists of the era. 18 Gs. That is the number. That is the lethal limit. The experts are certain that if a human body is subjected to a force 18 times gravity, the structural integrity of life simply collapses. The aorta will rupture like an overfilled balloon. The brain will smash against the skull and hemorrhage. To eject from a supersonic jet is not an escape, it is a suicide pact with physics. Colonel John Stapp stands in the blinding New Mexico sun, staring at a twisted wreck of metal and rubber. He is a flight surgeon, a man of medicine in a world of machines, and he is watching a crash test dummy being pulled from debris. The dummy is shattered, its limbs torn, its sensors registering forces that should have turned a man into pulp. But Stapp sees something the others don't. He leans in closer, ignoring the smell of burnt rocket fuel. He traces the straps of the harness. The dummy didn't fail because the force was too great. It failed because the restraint system was a relic. The pilot isn't dying from the stop. He is dying because he is being thrown against the inside of his own cockpit. The experts are blaming the human body for the failures of bad engineering. Stapp is a man possessed by a dangerous idea. He believes the lethal limit is a myth, a ghost story that is holding back progress and killing good men. He argues that the human body is not a fragile eggshell, but a shock absorber capable of surviving hell, provided it is held in place correctly. But theories are worthless in a business where mistakes leave craters. The generals want proof. They point to the data tables. They point to the broken dummies. Who would be foolish enough to challenge the laws of physics with their own life? Stapp knows that a dummy cannot report on pain. A dummy cannot tell you when its vision blurs or its lungs collapse. To find the true edge of human endurance, he needs a subject who can talk back. He needs a volunteer who understands the risks, someone who knows exactly what it means to be crushed by 40 tons of invisible pressure. He looks around the base, at the young men with families, at the skeptical engineers. He realizes there is only one candidate. He picks up the pen to sign the release forms. His hand does not shake. He is not doing this for the thrill. He is doing it because he is angry at a safety limit that is getting people killed. He decides to become the experiment. December 10th, 1954. The Holloman Air Force Base is quiet, save for the wind hissing across the desert floor. In the center of a specialized track sits a beast of a machine, the Sonic Wind No. 1. It looks less like a vehicle and more like an instrument of torture, a sled bolted to 9 solid fuel rockets, capable of generating 40,000 pounds of thrust. John Stapp climbs into the seat. He is not wearing a spacesuit. He is wearing a standard flight helmet and a light jacket, looking absurdly vulnerable against the cold steel of the rocket sled. The technicians strap him in. This is not a standard seatbelt. It is a web of nylon meant to distribute the coming violence across his hips, shoulders, and chest. They tighten the straps until he can barely breathe. They place a bite block in his mouth so he doesn't shatter his teeth when the G-force hits. The countdown begins. It is a slow, rhythmic chant over the loudspeakers, counting away the seconds of his life. Stapp stares at the horizon. He knows the math. He knows that in a few moments he will be traveling faster than a .45 caliber bullet, and then he will stop. The plan is to hit the water brakes, a series of scoops that will drag through a trough of water, bringing the sled to a dead halt in less time than it takes to blink. If the welding holds, he survives. If the harness holds, he survives. If his aorta holds, he survives. Fire. The world dissolves. The 9 rockets ignite simultaneously, a kick of God that slams Stapp into his seat. The acceleration is brutal, pinning his limbs, flattening his skin against his skull. The landscape turns into a smear of brown and blue. In 5 seconds, he crosses the threshold of 632 miles per hour. The wind pressure is immense, tearing at his helmet, trying to rip his head from his shoulders. He is a projectile now, a human cannonball hurtling towards a concrete wall of water. Then the brakes engage. It happens in 1.4 seconds. The sled slams from 632 miles per hour to 0. It is a violence beyond comprehension. The deceleration hits him with 46.2 Gs. For a singular, agonizing moment, John Stapp's body weighs over 7,000 pounds. His ribcage compresses like a crushed soda can. His wrists snap against the restraints. But the most terrifying thing happens to his eyes. The blood, unable to stop its forward momentum, rushes into his head with hydraulic pressure. His capillaries burst instantly. His vision floods with red, then goes black. He cannot see, he cannot breathe. He is suspended in a void of pure, crushing weight, his body screaming under a load that should have turned him into liquid. The silence that follows is deafening.
The dust cloud is still rolling over the track as the emergency crews sprint toward the sled. They are running with the desperate urgency of men expecting to recover a corpse. The sled sits smoking on the rails, the water from the braking troughs hissing against the hot metal. Inside the cockpit, Stapp is slumped forward. The harness, the very thing he staked his life on, has held. But the man inside looks broken. His helmet is askew, his face is a mask of trauma. The flight surgeon reaches him first, hands trembling as he unbuckles the straps. "John? John?" Stapp lifts his head. It is a movement of pure will. He turns toward the voice, but he doesn't look at the doctor. He looks through him. His eyes are horrific, 2 solid pools of crimson blood, the whites completely gone, hemorrhaged by the impossible pressure. He is blind. The pain is a dull roar in his skull. His ribs are cracked, his collarbone feels shattered, and his wrists are useless. But through the red haze, a jagged grin splits his face. He spits out the bite block. He breathes. He is alive. He had taken 46.2 Gs, more than double the limit the experts swore would kill a man, and he had walked away. Well, perhaps not walked, but he had survived. As they load him onto the stretcher, the blindness begins to recede, shifting from black to gray to a blurry light. The red in his eyes would take weeks to fade, a gruesome badge of honor that marked him as the fastest man on Earth. But Stapp didn't care about the record. He cared about the data. The sensors on his harness proved it. The human body could withstand the crash if the restraint system did its job. The ripple effect of that single, bone-crushing ride travels through time to touch you right now. Stapp didn't retire to a quiet life. He took his red eyes and his broken bones to Congress. He waged a war on the automobile industry, which was selling cars with no safety belts, calling them death traps. He used his fame, his photos, and his undeniable data to force the world to listen. When President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the legislation requiring seatbelts in all new cars, it was signed with the ink of Stapp's sacrifice. Today, when you get into your car and hear that familiar click of the seatbelt across your chest, you aren't just following the law. You are trusting a piece of technology that was tested on the living body of a man who refused to believe in limits. John Stapp broke himself so that you wouldn't have to. He stared into the abyss at 632 miles per hour, and when the abyss stared back, he didn't blink. Mostly because his eyes were full of blood, but he proved that we are stronger than we think, and that sometimes the only way to save the world is to strap yourself in and hold on tight.